Welcome to this workshop for Subtask 1, the helicopter overview for IEA DSM Implementing Agreement, task number 24. It's called Closing the Loop Behaviour Change in DSM from Theory to Practice, and I'm the operating agent, C. Rotman. As I said, our other operating agent, Ruth, couldn't make it, but the two of us spread a really nice gamut from theory to practice. Ruth is a well-known behaviour change researcher, and I've worked in government on energy efficiency policy and research evaluation and prioritisation, and also implementing energy efficiency in agencies of more than 10,000 staff. So, background to the IEA DSM Implementing Agreement. There is about 40 of them. We are one of them. We have 15 participating countries in the moment, and here are the ones that are participating in our task. And here are the national experts from each of the countries, some of whom are sitting in this room. What is DSM? Very simply and generally speaking, it refers to changes that originate from the demand or the energy end user side. And usually these are the things that you can do. They're about shifting and conservation, but most people think about things like smart meters and technology and feedback devices. So it's usually a technological approach to demand side management. What's behaviour change? Well, about 30% of energy demand is locked in the so-called behavioural wedge, and that includes people's conservation behaviours and efficiency behaviours. And again, you can have, demand reduction or shifting in both these concepts as well. That's Ruth and her horse doing a active transport mode switching. A really important caveat is that in this task, a successful behaviour change outcome results in improved energy use by households and businesses, not necessarily a full-blown reduction in total energy use, although that's a long-term goal, because in New Zealand, for example, we have houses that are colder than the inside of a fridge, and we want people to warm their houses before we want them to reduce their total energy use even more. So the premise for this task is that the current energy efficiency gap results from a misunderstanding of humans being rational, of being overly technocratic in our approaches, of research not transferring well into the policy sphere, of a lack of meaningful long-term monitoring and evaluation tools, and of not having enough information tailored to countries. So we want to create a global network expert, a super brain of experts that all bring a piece of the puzzle to put together the overall landscape for policymakers, funders and intermediaries to find the best behaviour change outcomes. So the subtasks for this task are the expert platform, which overarches the whole lot. Then we have the helicopter overview, which we are concentrating on today. Then we're going into an in-depth analysis of the 4 areas of greatest need, which the countries have decided on. We're going to develop an evaluation tool that makes sense for stakeholders. And then we're going to have country-specific project ideas going forward. So some special features. The IEA, obviously, mutual influencing. We're taking a whole system approach, a very human approach to the very human problem. So we're doing things like storytelling. We're using social media tools and networking. We're trying to bridge the divide between the disciplines and have bottom-up open innovation approaches. Subtask 5, the expert platform. Some of you will already be on this. I hope all of you will be on this after today. It's a really good tool to collaborate. It's very good and has, for communicating, it has all the groups and the subtasks and discussion forums and the events and the workshops that are taking place. Here you can see some of the experts. Some learnings from, it's really good in people inviting other people because it's closed and people can invite other members, so it works really well in organically growing. It's okay in terms of engagement. I'm hoping that once people get to meet each other in workshops face-to-face, they feel a little bit more comfortable engaging with each other there, and it's really insufficient in terms of data management. So we're going to create a wiki and we're going to use some other tools to make sure we get good data. So, helicopter overview. We have different disciplines and different contexts. So we want to have an inventory of the two, and then the different disciplines all speak different languages. So we want to create a translation tool between them and the policymakers to get the evaluation in the end. We have put together a template for models, and we've already collected about 12, 13 different models from the experts. Here is a part of a template for the energy cultures model from New Zealand. And today we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about how the models can be useful in the context of the various countries. Subtask 2 is about case studies. We also created a template to collect case studies, and we're going to collect them from each of the countries in the 4 main themes. which seem to be really straightforward: smart metering, building retrofits, transport, and small to medium enterprises. But then we actually looked at them, they were nowhere near as straightforward because they're quite interlinked. So basically we have households, we have conservation behavior, which usually follows these kind of ways, and then we have efficiency behavior, which is more around purchasing and once-off big impacts usually. So and then we have buildings and we have transport. And with buildings, efficiency behaviors are usually around appliances and insulation and things like that. Conservation behavior is around conservation, like turning off lights and appliances. With transport, it's about what fuel you buy or what type of vehicle you buy. In efficiency behavior, then it goes into mode switching, which is sort of sitting between the two of them. Then it goes into fuel-efficient driving. And then we have smart metering and smart grids, and the whole idea sitting sort of between the two of them and linking them. And in SMEs, the same kind of matrix. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated because with buildings, you have usually much larger commercial buildings, and then you have staff behavior. So you usually have, staff to deal with in terms of conservation. And then you have the transport choice, again, the fuel choice. You have freight, for example, what freight you choose. And then you have the staff driver training and things like that, driving behavior. And then you again have building management systems, which is sort of the smart meter technology. And in cars, you have smart metering, fuel consumption. Subtask 3, evaluation. Seems pretty simple. This is basically what we want to do. Find out what is a successful long-term behavior change outcome to you as our various stakeholders. And this question will be answered differently depending on what what sector you come from. It'll be different for policymakers than it will be for researchers or for industry. And then last, going forward, we hope to come up with some do's and don'ts and with some really good pilot or action research projects that we can then actually roll out in the various countries that are participating and get a cultural comparison of the recommendations from this task and how they work in the different country contexts. And that's the plan, that's the vision for the future. Thank you very much.